Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. Today I have the pleasure of Amish Tripathi's company. Amish, welcome to PGurus channel.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So there's a little bit of a story behind this. I've been chasing Amish since September when he had come to World Hindu Congress in Chicago, and I ran into him for the first time. I managed to get a photograph with him, so I do have that graphics part taken care of. So you don't have to worry about that. But somehow we couldn't get a tete-a-tete with him. So Amish, first let's start with your name. I have been always curious. Tripathi, Pathi, what is the meaning of that?
It's like this. One of the I don't believe in the caste system, but this
no, it's okay. I'm just
this is the background of the community. That those depending on the number of Vedas the community had mastered, the surname would be decided accordingly. So those who had mastered only correct. Dvivedi means who had mastered 2 Vedas. Trivedi, Tripathi, Tiwari means those who had mastered 3 Vedas.
I see.
Chaturvedi is those who had mastered 4 Vedas.
And the equivalent same thing, right? Bandopadhyay, Chattopadhyay,
Exactly. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And then when it got anglicized, it became Chatterjee.
Of course, the lazy
but the original, but the original surnames, the root is supposed to be this. All the Vedic Brahmin communities. This was the logic.
Even Bishan Singh Bedi is again Vedi.
Yes.
They were Vedi parties.
Exactly.
Amish, you have had spectacular success as a writer, and trust me, I have written books, but monetizing it is a totally different feat. But you've accomplished that.
I pay taxes too.
No, I still pay taxes. They want to collect taxes. That is not the challenge here. The challenge is to make people write compelling enough so that people will read your stuff. So you've had achieved enormous success writing these books. Why don't you share with our viewers, where did it all start? I mean, I've read a little bit about Ashwin Sanghi's background and so on, and I've been equally impressed with his work. But you are taking this to a whole new level. So why don't you share with our viewers, how did it start? Where did you have your schooling? When did you find the urge to start writing?
Actually, Immortals of Meluha, the first book of the Shiva Trilogy, is the first piece of fiction I've ever written in my life.
Wow.
Before that, I had written absolutely nothing, not even a short story. No fiction. No, there was no bright flash of light early in the morning. I know that would sound lovely in an interview, but sadly not true. I was always a voracious reader when I was young. From a very young age. I would have started reading maybe 5, 6. And I've been reading voraciously since that age. In our family, everyone reads a lot. So it's just something that we grew up with. And a lot of the knowledge of our scriptures, of our spiritual texts, of our philosophies, of our stories, I learned from my family. Because my grandfather was a Pandit in Kashi. And the entire family atmosphere was this. As Babaji used to joke that we had a lot of blessings of Goddess Saraswati. Not enough blessings of Goddess Lakshmi, but lots of blessings of Goddess Saraswati. And this was the atmosphere. So I just good fortune of birth and a lot of reading, I had all this knowledge. How that got converted into a good story, I believe is just Lord Shiva's blessings. And this I've said repeatedly. I don't care how it sounds. I genuinely don't believe it's my creativity. It's Lord Shiva's blessings. Why he blessed me, I don't know.
Amazing. By the way, Saraswati also has taken up residence in my house. The only Lakshmi I can relate to is my grandma. Her name is Lakshmi. So we are in the same boat.
What has happened in the last 3 generations, as each younger generation, I think the blessings of Goddess Lakshmi has gone up a bit, but sadly the blessings of Goddess Saraswati has come down. My grandfather was a genius. My parents are little less. Our generation will a lot less.
Right. But then you also have a daytime job, right? So what do you do?
I did have a daytime job. I resigned after my second book. So, like I said, I come from a humble family, so even the resignation was a practical decision. Only when my royalty check became more than my salary, so I resigned only at that time. Which by the second book, God's grace, it did become. So
Wow. Amazing. So what were you what was your daytime job that you decided to give up?
So I worked for 14 years in financial services. My last job was at a life insurance company. I was a member of the senior management committee. I looked after products, marketing and service quality.
Achha. Wow.
So boring things like actuarial tables.
नहीं बहुत ही अच्छी चीज़ है. In fact,
there's a reason why they call it compensation, because they bugger your mind through the month and then compensate you for it at the end of the month.
So I don't know if you have had time to read. I have written extensively about financial stuff,
right.
Because I believe that India needs to fix its financial system before it can start thinking about India has plucked the low-hanging fruit in terms of GDP becoming number 3 PPP. From 3 to 2 is going to be a very, very hard climb, because we don't have the financial systems, that transparency, the way money.
You don't want to get stuck in that middle income.
Yes.
Many countries, for all you know, maybe even China may not escape out of it.
No, they're not.
There are many countries which get stuck in that. No, you're right. It is.
But India needs to be more transparent. See, the thing that we have going for us is that many of us speak English, and that means the countries that deal with finance day in and day out, America and England. UK is basically a tax haven. We don't have any technology there now. So that's what is left. So they basically said, you make money illegally, we'll help you hide it.
Correct.
That has been my.
And you come out there, any foreign income is tax free.
Right, ongoing mantra.
But look, I believe there should be balance in everything. One of the wise things our ancestors said is Ati Sarvatra Varjayat, and excess of anything is not good. We certainly need to improve our financial system in India.
Right.
But excess financialization has happened, especially in the Anglo-Saxon world. So even in the US, where in the peak of the financial crisis, the financial industry was 40% of corporate profits. That's ridiculous. So we shouldn't go to that excess limits as well. But you're right, what we have now is not good. I think IBC is a very good reform.
Yes, very good step.
One of the unheralded reforms.
Yes, that is absolutely true.
I've been a banker for 14 years. Okay, and the banking industry, for like 70 years, people default. I'm saying on average, a few people may pay. But entrepreneurs default, they don't pay, they don't suffer. Whenever banks have come out of NPA issues, they've either been recapitalized by the government, or in the early 2000s it was because of an interest rate cycle movement. Treasury profits helped them wipe it out. This is the first time, at least what I'm aware of, that entrepreneurs are actually losing companies. The money is coming back. This is an earth-shattering.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. But by the way, viewers, if you're wondering, why the heck am I talking finance with a guy who's a prodigy, is a great writer? This is like chai pe charcha.
Shame on you. Where's the chai?
No, I'm cheap. You can see all the setup here. It has all the make bells and whistles of being a.
Don't listen to him. We are in a suite in the Taj Mansingh Hotel.
Okay. So Shiva Trilogy was the first series that you did, and of course a logical extension would be Ramayana stuff or Bhagavad stuff. So what is it that you brought out that was unique in your relations of Shiva's stories that you felt that caught the people's mind?
Honestly, it's a lot of this would just frankly be hindsight vision, and hindsight vision is always 20/20. It's not that I was thinking of all this while writing. I just wrote what came to me. The fact that it has found so much resonance, and most of my readers are actually the youth, is not something that I thought would happen. It's certainly not something that publishers believed would happen. In fact, my first book was rejected by every publisher. I self-published my first book because they said the main market is the youth and they are interested in religious subjects.
And then
I was advised, to write some campus romance novels.
Chetan Bhagat version 2.
No. But that is the genre that works. That used to work in that era. So I can't. It's any answer that I give for this is like hindsight analysis. Because when I was writing, honestly, I was genuinely not thinking. And one of the things I've said is probably without realizing it, I was truly living karmanyavadikaraste.
Wow.
When I was writing the book,
that's a great guiding principle. Don't expect the result.
Honestly, when I was writing the books, I didn't even think it would get published. I was just writing for myself and for my family. Poor chaps had no choice; they would have to read it. And the freedom that you get when you do work like that. Unfortunately, many of us in the modern day have misinterpreted what Lord Krishna was trying to tell us with Karmanyevadikaraste. It wasn't a disempowering thought that bhai jo hoga bhagwan hi karenge, so nothing's in your hand. That's not what he was telling us. He was telling us that if you're detached from the results, you're actually unstoppable. Because success will not fill pride in your head, and failure will not fill demotivation in your heart.
So true.
And both of them are as dangerous. So if you're detached, you're truly unstoppable, then you're truly free.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing, viewers. Amish is like, your next door neighbor that you grew up with, and then you went off somewhere, and you come back after 10 years, and you're picking up the conversation from where we left off. It's this conversation, I'm really loving it. Now, do you have any hours of the day that you like to work with, where you feel like you perform at your best?
I'm an early morning person.
So Brahma Muhurtam, remember this?
Brahma Muhurt, yes.
Brahma Muhurt is very important. Especially I'm telling it to somebody who's going to watch this thing and will realize that what I'm saying is true. Please continue.
Whoever you are, Brahma Muhurtam. Wherever you are, I will call you and I'll find you and I'll remind you. Wake up! It's 5 o'clock. Okay, I'm normally up by 5:30. I'm normally asleep by 10:30. Latest 11. Relatively boring life.
Correct.
But I tend to be disciplined. So I do my exercises in the morning, or yoga, pranayam, I alternate. I do my puja, I read, and during my writing phases, I would start writing by around maybe 9ish, and I write till the words flow.
Okay.
And most of my work, business work, marketing work, etc., is normally done in the afternoons during my writing phase.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, do you feel, and I sense this thing, and I want to just get your feed on this. I sense that, growing up, you almost hid your Hindutva, or Hinduness in a group. When you went in, you felt apologetic about it. But the new generation, I'm saying, for the past maybe 5-10 years, whether it was the serials that are coming out, all the things about Chanakya and all these things. I don't know, maybe it also has something to do with your writing. It's now becoming, it's cool to be Hindu again, or something like that. Is that your perception? Or is that something that I'm looking at it from a very long distance? I could be wrong about this.
No, I think you are right to certainly to some extent. Look, this is a culture that has survived thousands of years.
Absolutely.
When most ancient cultures who began the path to civilization with us, most of them have died out. They are museum pieces. And we have survived till today. One of the reasons, and there can be many reasons, why we've survived. Some of them could be that we never stopped fighting, for example. Many other cultures just gave up when invaders attacked. Another could be that we are a decentralized society, but with a stringing us all together. So there's no one head to cut off. You don't destroy one central city and everything collapses.
Everything collapses.
That way. We are anti-fragile from that perspective. But I think one of the key reasons why we have survived is we have the ability to keep the best of the old, keep our old soul alive, but keep rejuvenating it once again by bringing in the mood of the new times. And every age has its primary mood, its zeitgeist. So many of our generation, the primary mood was rebelliousness.
Correct.
And I've spoken of this. There was a reason why so many in our generation had gone into rebellious ideologies. Marxism, leftist. Because it was just rebelliousness was the mood of the time. What you find in the younger generation, what is the zeitgeist, what's the filter through which they see most things, is that it has to be cool. If it's not cool, if it's not hip, then they don't take the second step. So naturally, so many of our messages are adapting once again. You find so many of our gurus now, the gurus who are propagating our culture, not just in India, across the world. Many of them, they are very cool. And they will speak the wisdom of our old, but they'll make it cool, chilled. So this is again an evidence of our culture adapting to what the zeitgeist is, but still keeping the beautiful soul that has survived for 10,000 years.
So young India, few things to remember, take away from this interview. One, wake up early in the morning. Second, get a job, but don't give up your dream.
Right.
Okay, these things will happen. Success does happen. Miracles do. It's not miracles. If you work hard, if you're right, if you're lucky, if you work hard, you will be successful. I'll guarantee you this part. But you don't forget the hard working part, and you have to get up in the morning. Remember that.
Correct.
I mean, this
whoever you are, whichever specific person. Are we going to take his name? His or her name? No. But whoever you are, Brahma Muhurtam.
So here is the thing. Fortune 500 CEOs are asked. About 60% said that they're early morning risers. They get up at 4. In fact, many of them do. By 8 o'clock in the day, they're caught up with all their basic stuff like email responses, other mundane stuff that they need to take, or the things that they need to think about, the vision, all the stuff.
Most important stuff is the free time that you get. You are so much more productive.
Correct.
Between 4 to 6 is when it's it's Brahma Muhurtam strikes. There's also a physical thing. There's a substance called ghee that is produced within your body, and it only gets produced if you are awake during the Brahma Muhurtam. All you have to do is be awake.
Be awake
at that time.
How hard is
Ideally, if you're doing pranayama or yoga at that time, it works even more, because look, our body is designed for a natural circadian rhythm where our body is aligned to the movements of the sun and the moon. If you are in alignment with it, you naturally become more productive.
Wow. And also one other thing, young India, you are so lucky. Growing up, my Indian English writing authors were people like R.K. Narayan and a few other people, but nobody really took up the subject of India's itihasas. I never call it as mythology, it is itihasas. They never took it up. Now we have a choice, wide choice. You have the Dan Brown of Indian mythology, fiction, Ashwin Sanghi. We have Amish Tripathi, and then you have Ashok Banker, and I think I'm missing one other significant name.
Ananda Neelakandan.
Yes, Ananda Neelakandan. So there is so much to choose from. Of course, when you are bored about all this and you want to listen or read about the mundane matter of how money flows in India,
read this fantastic finance book.
But this has been a wonderful conversation, Amish.
Thank you.
And hopefully, all success to you. I look forward to reading, and then I also look forward to sending you messages saying, Amish, this really happened. One last question. This I read from Ashwin Sanghi's book, and I just want your opinion. So, was the river Saraswati flowing during Mahabharata?
It depends on when you place the Mahabharata, because there are two interpretations. Yeah, there are two interpretations.
Right.
Some who say it's around 3000 BC, depending on because of precession, you can actually date when the sky would have been that way. Some who say it could have been 1500 BCE. Some who say 3000 BCE.
Right.
If it was in 3000 BCE, then the Saraswati ji was probably flowing at that time. It was 1500 BCE, the Saraswati ji had probably dried out by that time, because Saraswati ji probably dried out between 1900 to 2000 BCE. Which one is the truth? Only Lord Shiva knows. But in my interpretations, if you see the Shiva Trilogy, Models of Melua, Secrets and Nagas, Oath of the Variputras, I have assumed that the Saraswati ji dried up around 1900 BCE, and that is actually closely linked to the interpretations in the story. And the Ramchandra series, my new series, is like a 1500-year prequel to the events of the Shiva Trilogy, and the Mahabharata is like a 400-year sequel to the events of the Shiva Trilogy. Mahabharata I haven't started as yet. So in my interpretation, I put the Mahabharata at 1500 BC, by which time the Saraswati ji was not there.
Yeah, so this...
many of the critical edition does not find that much reference to Saraswati ji in the Mahabharata. But in the Ramayana, Saraswati ji is referred to.
This is absolutely right. And I'll tell you why I'm specifically alluding to this. There's a book called Krishna Ki by Ashwin Sanghi. And there, he tries to explain how Krishna, who was living in Mathura, ends up being in Dwarka. And he says that Jarasandha was attacking him so hard. Right? And he said at one point, he says, Rato Rat, humko yahan se nikalna hai. And then he says, he makes the connection there. There was only one way possible for Krishna to go from Mathura to Dwarka, was if river Saraswati was flowing at that time.
Because you would have
Right.
sailed down.
In fact, there's a name for Lord Krishna called Ranchod Das. Right. This is the reason that he actually ran away from battle to protect his clan.
Correct.
So anyway, so this is another topic that we can probably work on. And thank you very much. It was a great conversation. Thank you.
Thanks guys.
And Brahma Muhurtam.